Deputy Executive Director of the Chechayera Foundation. I also have on the panelists also Dr. Rose Ogudengbe. She's also one of our panelists, and would like to welcome everyone to this meeting. She is the lead therapist of the Chechayera Foundation. Ladies and gentlemen, please, we welcome every one of you to today's webinar. At this moment, without any further ado, I would like to recognize the presence of the principal of Supreme Education Foundation School, Mr. Heyachuku Akuti, is with us today in this training. Thank you for joining us, sir. We appreciate you here. All right, let's turn the time over to the lead facilitator, no other person but Mrs. BC Ajayi Kayode, the Executive Director of the Chechayera Foundation. Over to you, ma'am.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is BC Ajayi Kayode, the Assistant Director of the Chechayera Foundation. With me as co-facilitators or panelists, as you've been told, is the Executive Director of the Chechayera Foundation, Mrs. Grace Ketefe, and the lead therapist, Dr. Rose Ogedengbe. We are really very happy to be here with you. The Chechayera Foundation is a one-stop response center, an NGO, focused on protecting, preventing, and responding to child sexual abuse to help children get adjusted back to living a normal life. The word Chechayera is a Hausa word that means save the child. Chechayera, Chechayera. Today we'll be navigating the best practices of preventing and responding to child sexual abuse by taking you through the 5 dynamic steps you need to know to ensure child protection. And why are we doing this? Number one, because of the scourge, the escalating scourge of child sexual abuse. And with the COVID-19 lockdown, a lot of parents, they don't have the best practices of information. They need to be empowered to step down sex education training for their children. And because now a lot of people are endeared to online platforms in which makes children vulnerable to sexual exploitation, how to safeguard children, make choices, and establish safety plans, and harness community resources to know what to do. This is scheduled to be an interactive session. So as we go into the training, please feel free to express your concerns, question and answers, comments in the question and answer box. But before we go on, there are 2 questions. We have 2 poll questions for you. Like I said, it's an interactive session. We want to know. The first question is on child sexual abuse, child sexual abuse. We have, is it the responsibility of adults to, the first question is, do you have children you care for as parents or caregivers? Children, if anything happens to them, you get touched. The answer is either yes or no. Let's quickly answer the question. We have a few minutes for that. Then the second question is, it is the sole responsibility of adults to protect children. You can either agree, disagree, or you don't know. 2 questions briefly. Let's quickly go into that. So we can see the results. Of course, I don't expect anything less. Do you have children you care for as parents and caregivers? 91% of our participants are saying yes. Okay. Can we go to the second question? It is the sole responsibility of adults to keep children safe. It's either you agree, you do not agree, or you do not know. Let's quickly have your answers, please. Okay, we are waiting for the results of the polls now for the second question. Wow. I agree, 92%. I do not, 8%. I don't know, 0%. That gives us the impression we are on the right track. Child protection with 92% of participants agreeing that it's the sole responsibility of adults to protect children. Before we go into the training, we'd like to show you a video clip. It's about the true life story of a survivor on child sexual abuse. Happy viewing.
Thank you very much, Ma. While we are waiting for the video to come on, ladies and gentlemen, please, I would like to recognize the presence of the CEO of Supreme Education Foundation Schools, Mrs. Olubukola Adewiyi. She is there with us. Please, Ma, you can say a word or two.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Oguye. And Mrs. Ajayi Kayode, thank you so much for making out time for us today. It is going to be an interesting evening. I have my notepads ready with me to take on board as much as possible. And I know that our parents as well are excited and they are ready to take a lot and learn from you today. Thank you so much, Ma, for making out time for us. Thank you to Sierra Foundation as well. It is going to be a pleasant evening. Thank you, Ma. Back to you. Thank you, Mr. Oguye.
Thank you very much, Ma. And let's have the video now.
Dayo, I think you have to unmute yourself for us to hear the video. You have to unmute yourself for us to hear the video.
Can you hear the video now?
I'm not hearing, no.
The Chechera Foundation is a non-profit organization that seeks to educate children and provide them with skills to protect themselves from sexual abuse and to empower adults to prevent child sexual abuse. Our vision is to create a safe childhood for every Nigerian child, free from sexual abuse and with easy access to care, information, protection and emergency intervention. Our ultimate objective is to end child sexual abuse. In this video, you will have an insight as to what some survivors have gone through. These are real stories told in the words of the survivors of child sexual abuse. Nothing has been changed, and they may be disturbing to some of you. If you're a survivor, we hope that this video will encourage you and empower you.
I grew up with a faint memory of who my father was. I was told he died when I was around 6 years old, and my younger brother was around 9 months. I was also told he was a sailor who soared most African countries. I heard he died a mysterious death. He was frequently stolen and he lost a lot of body fluid. My mother had to move back to her father's house, and she did not have any relationship with any other man until 6 years after. For those 6 years, I was a happy child. Though my mother was not rich, she did everything possible to make me happy, comfortable. She was a petty trader. She showed me so much love and affection, and I was happy with her. Later, my mother started seeing an interstate driver who plied Lagos to Delta State route.
The show is underground, the matching ground is inside, plus the apple. Like you did the last time. No, man. See,
Later, my mother became pregnant, and this marked the beginning of our problems.
Small. Your leg. Carry on.
My mother's immune system was very low due to the pregnancy. To make matters worse, while carrying out required tests for a pregnant woman, she was diagnosed to be HIV positive. It was then it dawned on my family that my mother must have been infected by my father. The frequent vomiting and stooling were signs that he was HIV positive. Immediately my mother knew of her status. She lost the will to live because she feared that she must have infected the unborn child. Fortunately for the unborn child, who is now a grown-up girl of 13 years, she was not infected, thanks to the intervention of the medical practitioners. My mother died 6 months later. My baby sister had to go stay with one of my dad's sister, while I had to move to stay with my maternal aunt. My maternal aunt was just a struggling young lady who was a nursery school teacher with just an SSE qualification. We had a neighbor whom we simply knew as Mr. Paul. He lived in the same compound with us. At this point, I was just 13 years old. Mr. Paul was married for 5 years without a child. He was nice to my aunt and I. He would bring us foodstuffs.
Okay?
Say thank you.
Don't mention. Don't mention.
Thank you, Mr. Paul.
Okay, so I'll be going.
Okay, thank
He
you.
was always willing to assist me in every way he deemed fit. I thought he was being nice to me because I had no parent, no maternal or paternal grandparents.
You are just making everything so hard. You are so brilliant. Kai. Brilliant girl. Kai.
On this particular night, my aunt was not around, and neither was Mr. Paul's wife. He asked me to get him some toiletries, which I did. When I got back, He asked me to come into the house. I did, not knowing that he had ulterior motives. Immediately I entered. He threw himself at me. He laid so heavily on me. He threatened me. He threatened to kill me if I screamed. And that no one was going to help me. He told me that nobody would believe my story. That he would take good care of me. He would make me comfortable. He would always buy me things. He told me to go take my bath, which I did. My aunt didn't notice anything strange about my behavior. She had her problems too, which distracted her. 2 months after the incident, my aunt called me to say that I haven't requested for my monthly sanitary pad and was wondering why. I never knew that I was pregnant. So, I innocently and boldly told my aunt not to bother. I told her that it would come. From that point on, my aunt paid special attention to me. A week after, she confronted me, saying that I was pregnant and that I should tell her who was responsible. I told her all that happened and that I was too afraid to tell her when the incident happened, thinking that the matter would die a natural death. I was scared that people would say it was my fault that I got defiled. My aunt immediately called her elder brother, who reported the matter to the police. I was invited to give a statement at the police station, and Mr. Paul was invited as well. He was arrested and detained in the police station for 7 days. While he was in detention, Mr. Paul's wife begged my aunt to settle the matter amicably. She begged my aunt to speak with members of my family and suggested that a date should be fixed to speak with them. The DPO also put pressure on my aunt to meet with Mr. Paul's family to settle the matter out of court. He claimed that the harm had been done and that sending Mr. Paul to prison would not solve the matter.
God will punish me. Don't touch me. Don't touch me, Wanya. Don't touch me.
After a while, my family budged.
People wicked for this life. Sorry, my husband. No vex. Sorry, go inside. God no go gree make bad thing do us. And picking no go wear better clothes. My husband.
But I was scarred for life. He was always willing to assist me in every way he deemed fit. I thought he was being nice to me because I had no parent, no maternal or paternal grandparent. I really wanted to tell my aunt about it, but I was so afraid, and I never told her. I was withdrawn, moody, and a little bit aggressive. I would beat up kids around me at the slightest provocation. I am Sylvia, and I am 25 years old. I am currently training to become a stylist. I am not in any relationship at the moment, but I hope to summon enough courage to go into one someday.
Wow, that was a wonderful presentation from that video. Before I hand over to Mrs. Bisia Ajayi, participants, please remember to drop your questions in the chat box section so that we can quickly take them down and attend to them at the end of the presentation. Over to you, ma'am.
Wow. What do we think of that video clip? Quite touching and overwhelming, isn't it? I'd like us to put in the chat box, what have we learned from that short video clip? Please, your observations, your comments about Sylvia's experience. Child sexual abuse is a very tough topic, no doubt, because it's a global issue. It's a very sensitive topic that humanity has had to deal with over the years. It's a crime against humanity. It's not just a human rights violation issue, it's a public health crisis. Like you have the COVID-19 pandemic, child sexual abuse is an epidemic. In fact, you can address them as siblings. Now we're going to take us through the 5 steps. Research-based, evidence-based best practices of preventing and responding to child sexual abuse. We'll be taking you through 5 steps, mainly learning the facts, minimizing the opportunity for the abuse to occur, talking about it, knowing the symptoms, and reacting to child sexual abuse. 5 protecting steps to protecting our children. We want to believe that as many of us are on this platform right now, we care about our children. We want to know how to go about this issue. The first step we want to teach you about is learning the facts. What is child sexual abuse? What is the definition? As parents, caregivers, as educators, I know we have one form or impression of what child sexual abuse is. Please, can you just put your definitions in the chat box? We'll appreciate that. Yeah. So, what is child sexual abuse? Child sexual abuse is any form of sexual activity with a child. Who is a child under our laws? A child is anyone under the age of 18 years. It doesn't matter if at the age of 18 he or she has acquired a degree, a university degree. It doesn't matter if he or she is plus size, wearing XXX large. It doesn't matter if the abuse took place when the child is 17 years, 364 days old, maybe an hour to the 18th birthday. That child is still a child. Now, who are those who perpetrate child sexual abuse? An adult can perpetrate sexual abuse on a child. Another child can perpetrate sexual abuse on another child. And this is often common among siblings, family members. An older youth, like a teenager, can overpower a child into sexual activity. Now, what are the underlying factors? What inspires child sexual abuse? It is not about sexual gratification. Child sexual violence has been globally acknowledged as a weapon of war. When you see sexual violence, there's a weapon, there's war. It's about dominion, it's about power, it's about controlling the victim, it's about destroying the victim. Because oftentimes people will ask, what sexual pleasure is there sleeping with a 3-month-old baby, 6-year-old? No, it's not about sexual pleasure. The dominion, the influence they cannot exercise in their own relationship, or the abnormal fantasies that they have towards children make perpetrators but it is in no way acceptable. A lot of people give reasons, oh, it's the devil, it's this, it's that. No. No matter the motivating factor, child sexual abuse is not acceptable. It's not only a crime, religiously and culturally offensive. Now, what are the categories of child sexual abuse? Because if we ask some of us, what is child sexual abuse? We may say, oh, when an adult impregnates a girl. Well, penetrative sex is part of it, but not just genital penetration. If anybody penetrates a child's the mouth, the vagina, the anus, with an object or with another private part, it's child sexual abuse. That's what we call the contactual sexual abuse. You're touching the child. Inappropriate touching, sexual harassment. But we also have another category of child sexual abuse, which is non-contactual. I've told you this is a global problem. Somebody can be outside the country in the US and the UK and be abusing a child here in Nigeria. Somebody say Chechia Foundation, how come? What do you mean by that? Yes. With the internet platform, people exposing a child to pornography, engaging a child online child sexual exploitation, forcing a child, what we call exhibitionism, showing your private parts to a child, or asking to see a child's private part, which is not physical, or the use of foul and vulgar language, dysfunctional sexual language, derogatory sexual language on a child. It's sexual abuse. So when a child complains, this person did this, I didn't touch her, he didn't touch him. You don't have to touch to abuse a child. You don't have to touch. It's either contactual or non-contactual. Or if somebody forces a child to masturbate, it's sexual abuse. Because oftentimes there's control. Is masturbation sex? Yes, medically acknowledged as a sexual activity. Now, how prevalent it is it? Well, the overwhelming statistics, which is frightening, is that 1 in every 4 girls in Nigeria, 1 in every 10 boys will be sexually abused before the age of 18 years. So if you gather 4 girls, 4 females under the age of 18, at least 1 will be sexually abused before the age of 18 years. And if you gather 10 boys together, 1 will be sexually abused before the age of 18 years. And why is it so prevalent? Because 90% of childhood sexual abuses are not reported. Why are they not reported? Because the child has been intimidated, coerced into silence, or the child or the non-offending family members, they don't know what to do. The landlord has defiled my child, I'm owing him. If I don't even have the money to pay my house rent, if I don't go to the police now, it's going to cost me money. I don't have money for this or that. Then negative cultural norms that blame and shame children. Where were you going? Why didn't you stay in the house? What were you wearing? Even if the child is stark naked, it's for an adult to correct that child to dress well, not to take advantage of him. Or some may even say, oh, he or she consented to it. May I submit to you that there is no way, humanly speaking, a child can give his or her consent to sexual activity. What we have are threats, intimidations, and coercions. You know, I'm the breadwinner. I brought you from the village. If you don't give in, we'll send you back to the village. Your parents will die of poverty. You know, it's the little I'm using to pay you that's keeping your father alive in the hospital. If you don't surrender yourself, you know, a lot of things. Or I will come and kill you, I will kill your mother. So with these statistics, you can see that 16 million Nigerian children will experience child sexual abuse. And of this glaring magnitude, only 3.5 of girls and 1.5 of boys ever get to receive help. And they are left to battle with this problem on their own till adulthood with the negative impact. And child sexual abuse is not just an individual problem or a family matter. Under our laws, child protection laws, if you defile a child or sexually abuse a child, you've not only offended that child or the family, you've offended the government. And we thank God here in Lagos State, a high premium is placed on child protection. We are still going to go into that. Now, who are these people that abuse children? How do I know? May I submit to you, there are no benchmarks, no indices for identifying a pedophile because they appear regularly normal, like you and I. The same way you don't know if the next person sitting beside you is HIV or COVID-19 positive. Exactly the same way. And these are people, 90% of people who abuse children are people who are known to the family. Strangers hardly do that. People who have regular legal access to the child, who have warmed their way into the heart of the child and the parents to hand their trust and respect. It's hardly strangers. If you see a child being sexually abused, please don't look too far. It's always somebody around. And what is their strategy? Their strategy is grooming. Grooming involves a slow but sure process. Slowly but surely, they first of all engage the child, the family. They look for what is missing, the gap in the life of that child or that of the parent. Hello, how are you? Can I help you do this? Favoritism, they kind of show some love, attention to the child. If they see a child that is deprived of love or attention, they give it. A child is hungry, they give the child food. And some are so mean and wicked that they make the abuse pleasurable to make the child enjoy it. To the extent that we now have children, 5, 6-year-olds, who are sex addicts, who are masturbation addicts. They treat the child as if he or she was an older person, and they start with body violations. If they know that this child is usually being abused, treated with disrespect with the child, they touch the child inappropriately. First of all, rub the back, rub the hand, it goes to the elbow, now start touching the private part. When they see that the child does not report to anybody, because oftentimes there are some children, they don't have anybody to report to. That is why the concept of a trusted adult is vital. One of the facts we must know about child sexual abuse is that children will disclose to adults they trust, not necessarily the parents. If they don't trust the parents, they can confide in somebody else. That's why we must present ourselves as trusted adults. And how do we do that? If you don't treat a child with respect, you don't take care of the child, you're not paying school fees, the child is sick, you talk to the child anyhow, you don't believe the child. It starts from little things. A child comes to you crying. Who beat you? Uncle A. Instead of asking what happened, you say, what did you do? You've already judged that child. You've violated that child's right of fair hearing. So when it comes to things like sexual abuse, the child may not bother telling you because he or she knows you don't believe in the child. When it comes to children, please let us believe them. Let us trust them. That's the basic fact. A child you don't treat with respect and dignity will not disclose to you. Now, how do they disclose? There are three ways in which children disclose. We have the direct disclosure, indirect disclosure, and accidental disclosure. If a child if you've succeeded in earning a child's trust and respect, maybe like an aunt, a caregiver in the school, the class teacher, the father, the mother, the child can disclose to you. But the fact is, they may not tell you the full story at the first disclosure. They want to feel your pulse. They want to navigate your heart to see how you react, whether you will shame them, whether you will blame them, or whether you will sympathize with them. Direct disclosure. This and that happened to me. And when responding, we'll still go back to that. Then there is indirect disclosure. The child might have been keeping the problem to him or herself for a long time. And maybe another matter comes up. Oh, this girl was defiled by her class teacher, by her father. The child may say, when did that happen? Say, okay, about 2 months ago. Has she seen her period? Say, well, yes, she's safe. Once you can see her period, then that means she's not pregnant. And even if she's defiled again, she will know what to do. Definitely, that child has been exposed to a form of some sexual activity. Some can even come and pretend it happened to their friend, like we see a lot of cases here at the Chichera Foundation. Please help me. My friend is addicted to pornography. How did your friend get into pornography? The father has pornography videos at home. They're always watching. Okay, what time does the father come in? And you listen. By the time the child tells you the full details of what is going on in her friend's house, then you begin to suspect. It didn't happen to the friend, it happened to the child. That is where professional response comes in. Then there's accidental disclosure. Maybe you are watching a movie and this and that happened. Oh, she's not smart. Anytime she doesn't want it, she should just have screamed or shout or threatened to tell somebody stronger than that guy, Or immediately happened, she should have taken this medication, she should not have gotten pregnant, she's not smart. That is accidental disclosure. A child telling you that somebody with unwanted pregnancy was not smart enough to harness some emergency contraception shows that that child has been involved in a kind of sexual activity. So those are the facts. The grooming stage, the disclosures, and all that. Then the clinical presentations of child sexual abuse. These predators, they inculcate secrecy into the child. Normally children are not good at keeping secrets. If you tell them, oh, don't tell auntie we want to do this. Okay, I will not tell her. They will shout. The person you don't want to hear has already heard. When you see a child that is good at keeping secret, if any child you've given birth to under your care is keeping secret from you, you've virtually lost that child. You have to teach that child the concept of not keeping secrets. There's a difference between secrets and surprise. For example, it's daddy's birthday tomorrow. I've ordered for a cake. I've invited some people. We're having a surprise party. Don't tell him. That is a good secret. But something is happening to the child. The person says, if you tell your mother, I'll tell your mother it's your fault. I'll tell your mother it's not the only one. So those are the facts we should know. The clinical presentations, they engage the child, they inculcate secrecy into them, and now suppress the child. They suppress the child's will, mind, and emotions. For example, when we watch the National Geographic channel, when they show the safari, wildlife, you see a lion that is very hungry, sitting in one corner in the forest. He's looking at a pack of goats or deer. He's very hungry. He's smacking his lips. He's looking at all of them, about 200 goats. He won't strike immediately. He will look for that one that is vulnerable, maybe a baby goat that the mother is not there with her, or the one with a broken leg, or the one far, far away. Once he makes up his mind, he starts charging towards that vulnerable one. You see other goats running in different directions, even right in front of him. He will not bother about them, even bigger ones that have more flesh. He goes for that vulnerable one and starts getting. And once he gets that, he will get it by the leg to prevent it from moving, the same way predators do. They intimidate the children from reporting, or get the goat by the neck. He may not start eating it immediately. He will suffocate that goat to death so that the child cannot cry out. Break down the child's willpower, low self-esteem, which makes the child more vulnerable to other predators. The first step, learn the facts. We are now going to the second step, reducing the opportunity for sexual abuse to occur. 43% of reported child sexual abuse cases in Nigeria occur at home. Parents, please, let's be wary of diverse potential sources of abuses at home. Please, anybody can be a pedophile. It could be the house girl. It could be the caregiver. It could be a family member. It could be the lesson teacher. It could be a religious figure or coming to the house to pray. It could even be a so-called destiny helper. Oh, you've lost your job. I will help this your particular daughter to pay. Okay, you need money. Send this your child. Send this your son. So we need to be on guard as to anybody under a roof. And at home, what is the sleeping arrangement? Because it can happen right there under your nose. A lady walked up to me one day. She's about 35, now married. She said, Mrs. BC, I'm still having flashbacks of nightmares of how my siblings used to defile me. I said, what happened? Where was your mother? She said, Mommy will be sitting down in the couch. She loves football. She'll be engrossed with the football. Behind the couch, because I was so small in stature, I was 5, 6 years old. My brothers will lay me down. They will defile me, hold my mouth. And my mother will not know till the football match is over. Another one, the mother is upstairs, she's busy. The lesson teacher is messing the child up. Let's be very, very wary. 20% occur in school. Teachers, educators, administrators, please be aware. It may not happen during school hours when everybody is busy. Teachers, most of these pedophiles, they look for early birds. Maybe those children, the parents drop early in school before 7 o'clock, before 8 o'clock, or the ones that the parents are late in coming to pick up, when the school environment is quiet, even when the child cries, nobody will hear. And how do we do that? Eliminate one-on-one situations. Please don't leave children alone. Even at the Chichera Foundation, don't say they're in the crèche. Don't say there are about 3 or 4 children there. I've told you, children perpetrate sexual abuse on each other. Let there be CCTV cameras. Do group supervision. Drop in unannounced. Drive out of the house as though you've gone for a far journey. Just make a U-turn, turn back. Come and see what is happening to your child at home. What is the grandmother doing? Yes, we are seeing cases, grandparents violating children. What is the house girl doing? And when we are saying eliminating one-on-one, not physical one-on-one, you might be busy watching the telly, your son or your daughter is with your smartphone. You don't know who the child is chatting with. That's how they recruit children to online sexual child pornography. Exercise parental guidance and control. We need to ensure internet safety, internet spaces. Some people will say, I'll not allow my child to have access to a phone. Well, you can't cut them off forever. There are different platforms through which children get engaged on the internet. The world is now a global village. Monitor the use of internet within your institution. And the schools where you place your children, what are their policies on the internet? And for those of us employers of labor, at home, maybe we employ a gardener, house help, artisans that come in, because even the security personnel in the estate, the residents where you live, we've seen instances once all the parents have gone and the security personnel will leave the gate of the estate, they go and start looking for children that are vulnerable, maybe they're not well protected, they say that their parents don't really have time for them, or maybe the child is hungry, buy Coke and Gala, defile the child. Before you engage anybody, please conduct a background check. We have the sex offenders register at the Lagos State Ministry of Justice. What reputation does this person have with children? All the places are. Let there be a code of conduct teachers will sign, not just teachers in the school, the para-academic staff, the school bus driver. They should know, ensure that there's a child protection policy. Any school, before you put your child in a school or an institution or school-related institutions like churches and mosques, find out what is their premium, what is their take on child protection. Do they hold their staff accountable for what happens to children? Because we have some people, what are the child protection policies you have in place? Oh, we are praying, we pray every day before classes start. We pray every day before we leave the house. We are not against prayers, but we need to take some drastic, some active steps to ensure child protection. If you have CCTV cameras in the house and the classrooms, How functional are they? We've seen cases of pedophiles that are so mean and wicked, they'll go and disrupt the connection so that it will not be recorded, it will not be caught in the system that they violated children. What of them volunteers? I've told you, pedophiles are good volunteers. Oh, madam, is your generator having problem? Don't go out and call anybody, I'll come. Okay, and before you know it, they've warmed them. How are the children? Let them warm. If you notice that somebody is always picking on your child, always criticizing that child, you have 4 children. This girl, she's so dirty. See how fat she is, always intimidating your child. Please, let's rise up. Because that person is trying to intimidate and suppress the child so as to come back and abuse the child. Screen likely employees and volunteers and let it be part of the terms of employment. Any day you are caught or you are suspected of abusing any child, you lose your employment. And please, we must mean it. And we must ensure that these things are in place. Have a formal document. Schools should have counseling rooms where children can walk in without fear or intimidation to express their concerns. Professional response to child sexual abuse. Now, step 3 is providing opportunity to talk about it. You cannot give what you don't have. One of the reasons why we are doing this training is to empower parents on the best practices of child protection, give them information on sex education so that they can step down the training on their children. First and foremost, create opportunity for conversation. You see, sexuality is a part of life, human sexuality. You teach these children sex education. Somebody's asking Mrs. Ajayi, how early? From birth, 0 to 2 years. But in talking about it, it must be done in an age-appropriate manner. Create opportunity for conversation. Let them know, okay, well, you're a girl, you have a vagina, your brother has a penis. Maybe when bathing for them or when buying clothes for them, that these clothes I'm buying for you is not just for fancy, for fashion, it's to cover your nakedness. And open conversations with children about body safety, sex, and body boundaries. Because when they are toddlers, 0 to 2 years, immediately you remove the diaper, they feel like running around the house naked. Let them know from that age it's not proper to be naked, except you are taking your bath or the doctor is examining you in the presence of daddy and mommy. Then 2 to 5 years, you let them know about body safety. Don't allow anybody to touch you anyhow. This is your private part, your chest region, as a boy or as a girl. Nobody should play with your nipples, your vagina, the part in between your legs, the part at the back of your legs. You just don't focus on the private part. You tell them your hand, like your hand is for you to touch, your eyes for you to see. So also your private part for you to pass out urine, the anus for you to pass out with. That's the only thing it's meant for now. Don't allow anybody to put your private part in your own. And for teenagers, let them know you are growing, you are attaining puberty as a girl, you soon start having your period. We are not saying you should not interact with the opposite sex. It's not even safe. Same-sex relationships also involve sexuality these days. Tell them about good interpersonal relationship skills. You can have friends of the opposite sex, but that does not mean you are dating them. And their rights to say no. Assertive skills. We live in a society where we have a strain and negative cultural norms that the elder is always right. When it comes to sexual abuse, no. Let them know if anybody wants to violate you, touch you anyhow, even the person is as old as Nelson Mandela, let them know that no is no. And from ages 5 and above, curiosity takes place. Mommy, where do babies come from? Don't avoid it. Because once they sense that you are reluctant or you are hiding something, you've aroused their curiosity and they'll go to other platforms to learn, which we don't want. Let them know your father and I had sex, that reproduction is a part of life. Animals reproduce, trees and plants reproduce, but baby making is for adults in the context of marriage. It's not something you experiment with. It's not something you do as a child. It's not meant for you. It is not safe for you. Let them know about body boundaries. Then, in providing an opportunity to talk about it, discerns a child's attempt to disclose fears and concerns. Because as they are growing up, you see cases where a child walked up to me one day and said, he said, Madam, you are talking about safe and unsafe touch. What about unsafe looks? I said, what do you mean? He said, I don't like the way my daddy's driver looks at me. I said, how does he look at you? He says, looking at me as if he's using his eyes to strip me naked. Definitely, the girl is receiving a strange signal from the driver. Those are the things we should be on the lookout for. Their fears and their concerns. Some will say, "Well, I'm growing too fat. I'm growing pimples. I want people make fun of me." Or maybe your teenage son says, "Mommy, I grew up waking up having this awkward erection. I have wet dreams." Please listen to them. Let's not shame them. Let's not blame them. Let us be the platform they will learn from. The other platform they can learn from. We have what is called the third parent, peer group pressure. Your parents are old fashioned. They are telling you not to have a boyfriend. And then they mingle with all sorts of people in the church, in the society, in the neighborhood. I've seen a 14-year-old telling me, "My mother said I'm old enough to have a boyfriend and to date." Is my mother wrong? That the boy can do anything to me. Now, if your child is in the same class with such a child, what do? Let them know the family values about sexuality. Let them know it's normal to be attracted to the opposite sex, but then it's one thing to be tempted, it's another thing for you to fall into temptation. If your son comes and say, "Mommy, I want to have a girlfriend," say, "Well, my friends are having girlfriends. They said I should have." Let them know it is not right. You can have a friend, but not a sexual partner. Sex is not love. They can, and we don't want them learning from pornography. That's why we monitor their internet spaces. Let them know that pornography is dangerous for them. It's an exaggeration of the sexual or the dysfunctionality of some sexual activities. That is not real. People go high, they do all sorts of things. It's not natural. It doesn't satisfy. Then age appropriate boundaries. I've told us 0 to 2, there's a way you talk to them, 2 to 5, 8 to 11. Try, even if your child is not asking questions or showing any interest, please let's talk to them about them. Prevention is better, it's cheaper than cure. It's better to empower them to engage them, age appropriate boundaries. And teenagers is a different ball game altogether. They've already had their minds made up. You see them say, "Well, what is wrong with masturbation? I'm not doing it to somebody else." Let them know the negative impact. Doctors say at times it causes them memory loss. Now, what are the signs? We need to learn the signs. How do I know if a child has been sexually abused? Can we put that in the chat box? Because we know there's what is called short-term signs. There are some that are long-term signs. The short-term signs are the bruises we see, the bleeding from the private part, rashes of the mouth, sexually transmitted infection, HIV/AIDS. But the most unwanted pregnancy. But the most dangerous one that lasts to adulthood, that affects them physically, emotionally, academically, socially, politically, and spiritually are the long-term signs. Psychological damage being done. You see rebellion. Because you wonder a child is behaving against the natural norm and looks at an elderly person, no respect, very rude. Then you see extreme fear and reaction to places. A child has been willing to go home before. Immediately the father comes or the driver, the child becomes depressed. "Oh, I'm going home again." Definitely something is not right at home. Or your child wakes up in the morning, "Mommy, I'm not going to school. I don't want to go to school." Please, let's not shut down such a child. Let's find out why. Or, "Mommy, I will not go to church today and I don't want to go to that mosque again." Don't say you are not a child of the devil, no. Let's find out what's happening in the religious places that is discouraging the child. Then you see risky lifestyles. You see some children live their life, no self-esteem, they don't even care about themselves. You see a teenager will take the father's car and drive recklessly on the road. You see some funny dressings. You see, is this underwear or what? You see, this girl has no shame. It's because they don't have value for themselves again. Those who should protect them has violated them. They don't see the need to dress decently again. You hear statements like saying, lawyer, you're saying what I'm doing is not bad. When daddy defied me at the age of 12, mommy and about it, she didn't say anything. But this ones I'm sleeping with, at least they are paying something. Daddy did not pay when he defied me at the age of 12. And they grew up with such mentality. And some of them grow so callous, they feel disappointed at us, that should protect them. They feel the conflict with the society and themselves. That's why you see some join cults. You see dropping in academic performance. A teacher will be wondering, "Oh my God, this girl is an A-class material. How come she's dropping in grade?" You see a child that used to be lively, withdrawn, looking distant, you see confusion, you see drug and alcohol use. These days, you see people boiling cocaine with Indomie, boiling marijuana with Zobo. You see them buying cough syrup with codeine just to drown in smoking. It's not fashion. They are trying to suppress the pain. They are trying to express that something is wrong somewhere, but they don't know who to talk to. You see nightmares, you see a child crying from the sleep. Please, let's not take it lightly. Some of us think it's only spiritual. Okay, maybe she's only having a bad dream. It could be what happened during the day that has so traumatized the child. Even medical practitioners will tell you that if you do a brain scan for a child that is protected and the child that has been abused, you will see that the brain cells of that one that was abused did not develop properly. That's why you see dysfunctional behavior in some adults, and it affects up to international level. You can imagine, somebody was defiled and maybe the person was not get readjusted to living a normal post-abuse life, and he or she wants to be the first female president of Nigeria. The opposing party will just pick it up. Those are the fears that suppress people from reporting. It does not have to be so. Child sexual abuse can be prevented. And when you see any dysfunctional behavior, when you see ingratitude, there was one of the high institution, the 20-year-old girl, she was told she had a visitor, her friend's uncle came to give her pocket money. She said, can you see this man? This man wants to do toast, he wants to sleep with me. I don't like him. I was almost feeling happy. At least this girl knows her. One of her friends now said, why don't you like? He said, Omodeni. I was shocked. I said, how old are you? He said she's 20. How old is the guy? He said 42. I said, at 20, you are saying a 42-year-old man is a small boy. He said, madam, I want Baba Yeni man like 60 and above. And we found out that she was defined by her uncle from when she was 10, 11, 12. So she grew up with that mentality. Please, let us look out for the signs. As I'm speaking right now, we asked us, do you have children you care for? Do any child around you, is he or she manifesting any of the symptoms? You see somebody is withdrawn, and some of them, they become promiscuous. You wonder, this girl is from a well-to-do family, she doesn't like anything. Why is she going after men? Some will even go to the extent of begging men for sex because they are now addicted to sex. When you see sex addiction, something has happened to that child. We're not going to go to the fifth step, reacting responsibly. Now, when should we react? When you know that child sexual abuse has taken place, or you see a child at risk or your suspicion, please don't wait for it to happen. And then we must know our role as an active bystander. Who is an active bystander? Somebody who takes steps to prevent a child from being abused. Now, a bystander is the one that responds responsibly to child sexual abuse. When you see that a child is discloses to you, because to be a good bystander, you must know how to respond to disclosure. First and foremost, stay calm. It's not easy, especially if it's your own child. My heart goes out to women out there who come to the sudden shock realization that their husbands have been defiling their daughter. Please don't refuse to take action. And if you don't know what to do, you can call us at the Checheyara Foundation. Don't promise the child will not tell anybody, because you need to call professionals to intervene and help that child. And a single agency cannot do it enough. You need social workers, you need medical doctors for treatment and evaluation. You need law enforcement agencies to hold the perpetrator accountable so that he or she will not do that to another child. You need psychologists, because it's not only the child that is traumatized, it's not offending family members. Some will say, well, I don't want to keep it as a secret, and so that if people know that my daughter will not get a husband in future. You don't know the kind of damage that happens to a non-offending child, because you never know the level of provocation you are prone to. I've seen a woman, when she discovered that driver she took like a son, they found her daughter, people came to beg, oh, blah, 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 whatever. She was just quiet. She was as though it was in a trance. People thought she had accepted the pleas. The next thing she did, she poisoned the driver, and the driver died. Now, a law-abiding citizen turned to a first-degree murder overnight because of the shock of the reality that a child had been abused. So you need to know your role as an active bystander. And please don't contact the perpetrator. Please and please don't confront him. Allow the appropriate agencies to do that. And then make safety plans, emergency intervention, because a good number of children have to be relocated from the offending environment to a non-offending environment. Then we have here in Lagos State, it is everybody's business. Some of us don't know the criminality involved. Children are not just recipients of our instructions and care. They are government agencies, they are God's agencies. The state government, the federal government has a sole prerogative over children. When you abuse a child, either physically, emotionally, you've not only offended that child and none of any family members, you have offended Lagos State government. So please don't be an accomplice. When something happens, so don't let's take this person to court. No, because you have already offended the Lagos State government. The Lagos State's safeguarding and child protection policy stipulates that schools and school-related institutions like churches and mosques should have a child protection policy. As an educator, from the gate of your school till the time the child is brought out of that school, whatever happens to that child, you take responsibility for it. And as parents, whatever happens to your child under your roof, you will answer for it. Because it is not the responsibility of children to protect themselves, it's the responsibility of adults. It is the responsibility of adults. That's why we need to do all that we know how to do to protect them. Then the mandatory reporting policy says that if you see a child has been abused, whether it's your child or just passing by, you have a God-given duty under the government to report. If you don't report, you'll be arrested for committing an offense. Now the challenge is, how do I report without getting myself into trouble? They will say I did not mind my business. Child protection is not a family matter. There's the Lagos State Child Protection Policy provides for confidentiality. At the Chichiara Foundation, we maintain high-profile confidentiality. We have a child helpline number that is available 24/7. You can call us anything. It's toll-free. You don't need credit to call us. 0800 800 800 0800 3 times 1. You may not even give us your name. Just give us the contact address. This is where the child lives. It is happening in this school. And we will go and rescue that child. Then you can spread the word, help another parent. This is a call to action to ensure that no child under your roof or that passes you by is abused. Now, how do you report? We've told us we don't contact the alleged perpetrator. You report to the abuse to the child protection officer within your organization. For example, God forbid, if it happens in SEF, the child protection officer should be informed, who will follow the reporting procedures in your organization, or you can call us, the Chichiara Foundation. And God so good, things have been easier. We have an app at the Chichiara Foundation, the Chichiara app. Cheche is spelled C-E-C-E, Yara is Y-A-R-A. You can just type in C-E-C-E-Y-A-R-A app. It's a chat app, which has 3 features. The first feature is a 1-minute introductory video. We would have loved to welcome all of you to our office at our center at 2 Agumade Davis Close in Bagada. It takes you on tour of our center. Then we have a chat room where manned by professional counselors, especially if the child cannot articulate or is scared to talk. Just chat. This is what is happening to me. We will respond and annex you to the community resources. Then we have told us that child protection cannot be done by a single agency. At the Chichiara Foundation, we interface, but we have professionals on site. We have everything under one roof. Our legal services are free. Our psychosocial support services are free. Medical is free. Then we have a unique service, forensic interview. We are the first to do it in Nigeria. Child forensic interviewing. You know, it can be overwhelming if a child is abused. You take the child to the police station. The police will ask questions. The doctor will ask questions. The lawyer will ask questions. The social worker will ask questions, disrupting the child's daily routine, overwhelming the child, disrupting the child. But here we have engaged the best practices as done in other nations of the world. Best practice of forensic interview, which is a structural process. We have a digital video recording of the child's statement, a neutral session of questions that is legally defensive, in which the child will tell us everything happened with only one single interviewer. Will be observed by a multidisciplinary team of teachers, psychologists and others, so that in case child protection agencies like maybe the judge and the court wants to hear what happened or the doctor wants to know what happened to the child, the police officer, we just take the video recording there without traumatizing the child. Even those of us as adults, if any adult experience sexual violence, talking about it over and over again can be overwhelming. We are also in partnership with the Ministry of Youth and Social Development. We have a strong relationship with the Domestic Sexual and Violence Response Team of the Lagos State Government, Ministry of Justice. We're also in partnership with the Office of the Public Defender, where you can reach them on 01897555751. And we're also in partnership with the Nigerian Police Lagos State Command, the Family Support Unit. These are special police stations that are designated to handle child sexual abuse cases. We're also in partnership with Mirabel Sexual Assault Response Center in Lasuth, Ikeja. Free medical treatment. Once a child is abused, we refer for treatment, free treatment and evaluation to protect against unwanted pregnancy, HIV, AIDS, hepatitis B, and other. And also to obtain a formal report that can facilitate investigation and prosecution of the case. And we are not just here in Lagos, we have our tentacles all over the world. We're in partnership with Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education, Lagos State, and we're a member of Child Helpline International in Canada, which is on a worldwide, a global platform through which Child Helplines from over 32 countries are members. We're a full member, Child Helpline International. We're also a member of Girl Effect, where teenage girls are helped, UNICEF too, and we are proud to tell you we are an award-winning Google Impact Award winning NGO, Public Health Institute. We're also in partnership with the British Council. What we have just done is what we call our adult awareness training programs. We're open to training programs, physical, before COVID, the lockdown, virtual training programs in schools, corporate organizations, churches, mosques, or any gathering where we empower adults. And we also have what is called Safe Kids Awareness Program, where we go to schools. This is also done online. We have virtual training. We empower children about their body boundaries, private and private. We are going to show you another video in rounding up, but then we want to leave a word with you. With what you have received today, it's not only for you and your children. You can set up, you can speak against inappropriate behavior and help other parents who have experienced it to harness community resources. Start a conversation with people, support a bystander, report them to us. Remember that nothing happens if you don't take action. The criminality involved, if you defile a child, it's life imprisonment. You attempt it, it's from 14 years, and you engage a child without sexual activity, that is 5 years. It is a crime against humanity. It's a crime under the Lagos State Child Rights Law and the Nigerian Child Rights Act. So we are going to another video clip now to show you on how to be an active bystander. Happy viewing.
A bystander is a person who witnesses a boundary violation or sees a situation in which a child is vulnerable. When intervening, it's not important that you know the intentions of the person who has crossed the boundary. What is important is that you reinforce that boundary.
I mean, they get one customer like that, where they always call me, say, make I carry and go different hotels for Lagos State. And every time where I go carry them, not be only and they follow me, now with small girls. And whenever then they go like that, you go see them, they go, they laugh behind my car. I go, they think, say, everything that they do, wait till Papa picking, they talk. But when they call me, say, make I can't carry them back, now they are going to say something don't happen. You go see the guys, they say they don't do something. You go, they look fearful. You go, they look like, say, them beat them. But because me, I know they think bad things, so I know feel easily say they don't do bad thing. One day, I can't enter the hotel, I go meet them, I say, this man, where they always come here, what thing they can't do? Because at times, you go, they tell the pikin, where they my back, say, make sure you don't tell anybody. Make sure you don't tell anybody. They come tell me, say, you don't know Baba. I say, yeah, they still say they call him Baba like anytime where he come. They say, now anytime where he bring girl come here, they come punchy them. I say, what thing be punchy? Say, you don't know punchy. If they come sleep with them, I go give them small money. My heart caught, I fear. Now so I go tell the police, so say get one man, where they always come carry. Now there say them tell me say the man be pedophile. When I reach home, I ask my pikin, I say wetin be pedophile? I say na person wey dey sleep with small pikin, then they call pedophile. Now so I hand over to police. Police go do their own case.
Today, I want each of you to make a commitment to one action that you would take to prevent child sexual abuse. And by next week, add 3 more actions. Thank you so much for taking an active step towards protecting our children.
Wow. I want to believe that every single person, every participant here today, parents, educators, everyone, we have actually received a very, very great deal of information here and lesson. I have learned a lot from this training. Before we proceed, I'm still going to hand over back to Mrs. Bisa Jai. I am sure we have questions to ask. Remember, I told already that we should put our questions in the chat box. You can also show by the raise of hand, your virtual hand on the Zoom platform, if you would like to make a comment. So let's take our time now to answer the questions that we have. Mrs. Bisa Jai.
Thank you, Mr. Hayodeji. Our panelists, distinguished panelists, Mrs. Grace Ketefe and Dr. Rose are here. They'll be basically answering most of the questions. So I'll turn this over to them. Then I'll come back for just a minute.
All right, thank you very much, ma'am. The following questions came forward, so I'm going to be sharing them on the screen right now. And I want to believe that our panelists will be able to pick the questions one by one. It has been assigned to each of them, particular to their area of expertise. So please let us listen to the answers to these questions. On your screen right now, I want to believe you can actually have a view of the question. Dr. Rosemary Ogedengbe, please over to you, ma, for the first question.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. The first question is it true that a child that has been defied will be permanently damaged? The answer is no. Sometimes it could be yes, but I'll tell you why it is no. Yes, it is true that child sexual abuse can have numerous devastating effects on a child, effects that could be physical, emotional, social, psychological. But if the abuse is reported and the child is given access to professional psychological assistance, counseling and therapy, like what I do for the Chechayara Foundation, the child will be helped. Most of these effects can be resolved, and the child will be able to live a normal life and be happy again and be able to achieve his or her life goals like every other child. So the damage can only remain permanent if the child is not given any opportunity to access psychological treatment after abuse. But even if it is in adulthood that a child or this adult who was abused as a child now receives access to treatment, the person will still heal from the trauma, from other psychological problems that resulted from the abuse, and the person can still live a normal life. So sexual abuse does not make someone permanently damaged. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ma, for that response to the first question. I think the second question is, please go ahead.
Okay, I'm afraid my child could be a willing participant in sexual abuse. I will look at it from two ways again. I am trying to read the mind of this person. if we are looking at the word willing there to mean that the child may have given consent, I would say that as our facilitator has already presented, a child can never give consent to sexual abuse. Even if the child actually asks the perpetrator to engage in sexual activities with him or her, the child's consent is irrelevant. It is immaterial. That is what the law says all over the world. A child cannot give consent because a child is below the age of consent. And of course, we know that the age of consent differs across nations, but in Nigeria, it is 18. So anyone that is below the age of 18 cannot give consent that is valid to sexual activity. And then if we are looking at the word willing from the perspective that children would ordinarily want to explore sexual activities, yes, that is possible because we also have developmentally related sexual behaviors that are normal for children to attempt to engage in as they are growing. For instance, your boy child or even a girl, children at the age of 4, 5, 6, as they are growing up, they explore. Exploration is part of child development. They explore the environment, and it is not only the physical things in the environment they explore. I mean, not only material things. Children also explore their bodies. Yes, because they are curious, they're inquisitive. They want to know what makes things to be what they are. They want to know how things operate. So in the process, a child may explore the body, and you can find children of the same age trying to explore one another's bodies also. In this case, this is just normal part of development. However, parents are not to take it for granted. It is a time, as the facilitator has said, it is an education. It is a time for you to start to educate these children if you have not done so, to educate the child, to let the child know that it is inappropriate to touch someone else's private body parts and even your own body. It is inappropriate to make it a career to continue to touch your body. I think I've answered that question. Hello?
Okay, Ma, thank you very much. You still have the third question too. You still have the floor.
Okay. I'm afraid that if my child is a victim, I will never know it. How do I address this fear? During the main seminar, when the facilitator was talking, she mentioned a lot of physical and behavioral indications that could signal the fact that a child may have been sexually abused. Some of those physical signs, like when you see bruises on a child's body, unexplained bruises, especially around the genital areas, parents should begin to ask questions: what happened? And then there are other behavioral signs. For instance, a child that has always been up and doing active, and the child is now suddenly withdrawn. The child wants excessive privacy, or you find that a young person is in possession of contraceptives or sex toys. These are behaviors that should make parents to begin to ask questions. And I would like to say that if you have not already established a mutual or an intimate relationship with your child, it will be difficult for you to now start a conversation about sexuality, or for you to even now to start to discuss the signs that you have observed that you are worried about with a child. So it is very important that parents establish an intimate parent-child relationship with their children, so that they will be able to talk freely with the children, and the children will also be able to talk freely with them. That is the that. And then if you are also very concerned about the behaviors and you don't know how to approach the child to verify if what you suspect is true, you can as well call us at the Chechiyera Foundation. We will invite the child during the forensic interview, during the counseling sessions. We'll be able to ascertain if the child has been sexually abused or not. But I would like to end on this particular question by saying that all those signs that we talked about are not automatic, that when you notice them, For instance, a child having bruises or a child withdrawn, it is not automatic that a child must have been sexually abused. It is just a sign, because there are other conditions or situations that could make children to have such indications. So it is important for you to investigate, for you to find out and be sure. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Dr. Rosemary Ogedengbe, we appreciate you so much for your responses to those questions. I think we'll now go ahead to allow Mrs. Grace Ketefe to answer our own questions. You can go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ayodeji. The next question is, how much should I blame my child for sexual abuse? The golden rule is never blame a child that is sexually abused. If you blame a child that is sexually abused, that child will be withdrawn. That child will never come to tell you anything. In that way, you are denying the child the necessary professional help that the child should have access to. At the foundation, when we receive a call from the child helpline, what we tell the child is, we believe you. We would make sure that this does not happen to you. So always tell the child, always believe the child. The truth is, children never lie about cases of child sexual abuse. So when they disclose, do not blame the child that is the child's fault. Why did you stay there? Why did you wear this kind of clothes? Even from experience, we found out that series of people are being abused. We have children, 6 months old child that is being sexually abused. What has the child done to attract that attention? We've seen 81-year-old people being abused, being sexually abused. We've seen people fully clothed in Buddha, Muslim girls, properly clothed, being sexually abused, even in churches and in mosques. So it is wrong for us to blame the child. Rather, we tell the child, we believe you, we will ensure that this does not happen to you again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark. Please, Mark, can you kindly move ahead to the next question for yours? How do I identify potential sex offenders?
Okay, so how do I identify potential sex offenders? If you read the newspapers every day, you find out that different people are being sexually abused. You find out that men sexually abuse children, women sexually abuse children, teenagers as well abuse children. But what we need to do is to ensure that we keep the children safe, because it is not written on the forehead of anybody that this is a potential sex offender. So this is why it is important to create a safe environment where children can play, engage others without the fear of being sexually abused. Some people feel that it is now sexual offenders are basically men, but the truth is boys and girls are being sexually abused. Men are being sexually abused, women as well as are being sexually abused. So it is important to ensure that wherever we leave our children, that they are safe, and we can at any point in time say, my child is with a trusted adult, and I can 100% say that my child is safe. We can't identify potential sex offenders. Thank you.
All right, Matt, thank you so much for your response. Another question here is, how will I know if I can believe allegations about sexual assault?
So for us at the foundation, we always believe the child. That is the first step. We will believe the child. And so it's better to believe the child, trust your instinct to react, and ensure that you take the necessary step. If at the end of the day, you find out that the allegation is false, it's better. So imagine a child disclosing and you refuse to believe the child. And at the end of the day, you now found out that the child was truly defiled. So it's for us, every allegation at the center is taken seriously, and we respond to it. All the different segment of people in our organization. So for example, the child advocate, the therapist, the social worker, they take every allegation seriously. They will follow up till the end and ensure that at the end of the day, the allegation, if false, we discard it. But if it's the truth, we provide all the necessary services for those children.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Okay.
The final question for you, Ma, here is from a parent. Based on his temperament, believes that he has the fear and if he discovers that his child is a victim of sexual abuse, he will become violent. What can you say to these parents, ma'am?
The truth is that we all love our children. Every parent wants to make sure that their children are adequately protected. Now, and we have feelings and we react. But it's better to react within the confine of the law. So, for example, if you react violently, you end up not doing yourself any good. You end up not allowing the child have access to the needed support, legal services. So, for example, if you are violent and then you attack the person, we'll be addressing the issue of physical assault instead of attending to the fact that this child was sexually abused. So, I would encourage parents not to react violently, but rather use the law to ensure that they get the needed justice. They get the needed justice and support for the children. If they feel that they are very, very angry, what we do is you can talk to your therapist. You can also call our child helpline to report. And then the first thing we tell you is don't show anger. So, for example, if you show anger, you try attacking the perpetrator may escape. And at the end of the day, you will not have access to the needed justice that you want in the first place. It is painful. I can imagine, I can't imagine. Let me say I can imagine, because it's only the parent that can tell how painful it is to her or him or the father. So it's better for the parent to take it calmly, report to police, report to various NGO, call our child helpline, and we'll give you the needed support to ensure that you have access to justice. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ma, for your response to that question. We will now turn the question over to Dr. Rosemary Ogedengbe. A parent is asking, will talking about sexual abuse with my child after it occurs make it worse? Dr. Rosemary?
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, we can.
Should I go on? Okay, yeah,
Please go on.
It can worsen the situation for the child. It depends on what you as a parent are saying to the child. For instance, if you are blaming the child, you are stigmatizing the child, you are labeling the child, you're calling names, like we have had in some cases, telling the child, oh, you are wayward, you are corrupt. Why are you the one among all the children in the house? Why were you the only one abused by the driver? It is because you are stubborn. It's because you are too loose. When you are doing all those, you are re-traumatizing the child. You are not supposed to blame the child, as my colleague has said, because this child is only a victim in this situation and needs all the support that he or she can get, to heal from this situation. So yes, talking with the child in this manner will make the condition worse for the child. But if you are supportive, you are reassuring, you are telling that child, okay, I know that this situation is very difficult for you. I can imagine how you're feeling right now, but don't worry. This is a passing phase. You are going to be fine. You are going to be okay. You will be fine. You will still be able to achieve your goals and everything. You are reassuring the child and you are helping the child in this situation. Another thing is that when a child is sexually abused and the child is traumatized, it is not okay for parents to insist, or even anybody, even therapists, we don't do it. That is insisting that the child should go through the whole narrations of the abuse, how it happened. Remember that this child is already traumatized, and memories of the abuse are as painful as the actual abuse. So even in the therapy room, we only allow children that are sexually abused to talk about the main event in precepts, in sequence, as much as is comfortable for the child to talk about at a particular time. If the child is talking and you observe that the child is becoming tensed up, the child is crying, the child is looking as if the child is no longer comfortable. Please don't insist that the child must go on and say everything, because you are re-traumatizing the child. What we do during therapy, even when we want the child to narrate the whole trauma, because narration is part of the therapy for the trauma that will help the child to heal. We don't just do it. We provide a comfortable environment. We put other techniques, relaxation techniques in place, so that while the child is talking, as the tension or the distress is building up, the therapist is there to counter it with these other techniques, which you as a parent may not have. So it is wrong, and it will re-traumatize the child if you insist that a child should continue to talk about an abuse that he or she has suffered every now and then. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ma.
Hello?
For the final question, yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
For the final question, which is still for you, Ma.
All right.
A parent would like to know how will he or she approach the brother, the sister, mother, father, in-laws, uncle, or husband if there's a suspect of them sexually abusing someone. I want to believe this question is
It's just
a family member, and then they want to know what they can do.
Yes, when sexual abuse of a child involves a family member, it is usually one of the most pathetic instances or situations of sexual abuse. As painful as it is, the person has to do what is right. You have to do what is necessary, and what is necessary is to act in the best interest of the child, is to report the case to child protection agencies. You can call us, the Chechayara Foundation. We know how to handle such cases. Why do I say that this is one of the most pathetic scenarios? Because on one hand, this parent has a child who has been violated. The parent is already traumatized, because I am a parent and I know, I can imagine how it feels for a parent to find out that his or her child has been sexually abused. And then on the other hand is this perpetrator, who is either the husband, that is the husband of the parent now, that means this perpetrator is the father of the child, or the perpetrator is the aunt of the child, or the perpetrator is the uncle, or even the grandparent. So you see that it is very normal for a parent to be in a situation of dilemma, because you want to protect both parties. You also do not want any scandal concerning your family. These are some of the fears that people express. But the right thing is to do what is right. Every case of child sexual abuse must be reported. It does not matter who the perpetrator is to the child. It does not matter whether the perpetrator is the mother of the child or the father of the child or the grandparent. Please, parents, do not be afraid. What is right is to protect the child. And I would like to round off by saying this. This is what I usually say to parents when it comes to sexual abuse within the family. When we shield a perpetrator because that perpetrator is a family member, we are neither doing the child nor the perpetrator any good. Remember that something very terrible has been done to this child. You are only saving the perpetrator for an impending doom. Because this child that is so helpless today might be in a position to take vengeance on this perpetrator tomorrow. So sometimes we hear that somebody just went to bed and did not wake up. You never can tell what happened. Sometimes we hear about terrible things happening in families. You don't know if that man has violated someone when that person was a child. So please, every case of child sexual abuse must be handled legally. It does not matter the affiliation that the perpetrator has with the child. And you should not take it upon yourself to handle it, because that is where everything is going to become worse. Just report to a child protection agency, report to us at the Chechayara Foundation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bob. That was a wonderful response. Thank you so much, everyone, for being with us today. It looks like we have covered virtually all the questions that have been asked. I would like to turn the time over again to Mrs. BC Ajayi. If there's anything else you would want to cover, for wrapping up.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Like I said, the Chichera Foundation, for those of, we want to apologize for other questions we're not able to take. You can visit our website at www.chichera.org. And if you have questions, concerns, or you want to communicate with us, you can send a mail to info@checheyara.org, CECYARA.org. I've told you about our child helpline. There are two other numbers on the website you can call during office hours: 090-8569-2623, 090-8569-2612. Thank you for your time. You can follow us on Instagram, Cheche_Yara, like us on Facebook. And please, as you are staying safe, ensure child protection. Welcome to the world of child protection.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Mrs. BC Ajayi. Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. I want to believe that every attendee, parents, educators, we have all learned a lot from today's training. And every single detail that has been put out there for us to protect our children from sexual abuse, we have a very great deal of information to handle this now. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here today. We appreciate you for being here. Before we go, I would like to quickly call on the CEO of Supreme Education Foundation Schools, SEF, Mrs. Olubukola Adewi, to give us the vote of thanks. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Ogunyaye, for that. It has really been an enlightening session. I have learned so much, and it's such an eye-opener. I'm very sure that parents, educators, and all those that have joined us online this afternoon would have learned so much. I mean, I was taken aback. 1 in every 4 girls and 1 in every 10. It's shocking. And to think that we take things with levity and a lot of things for granted, this is really enlightening and knowing where to run to. I am very grateful for this foundation for filling in this gap. Thank you, Mrs. Ogedegbe, Mrs. Ketefe. We have learned very much. Thank you for doing what you do. We pray that God continues to strengthen that foundation, make you continuously available for us. And as we have been enlightened today, that we are able to take this on board, run with it. And as Ms. Ketefe has said, it's not just for Mrs. Ajayi has said as well, it's not really just for us and our children, but for that child next door as well, that we have noticed that something is going on. So being also our neighbor's keeper as well. Thank you very much. As a school as well, we are embracing all that you've said. We know we have somewhere we can run to when we need help. Thank you for doing what you're doing. And thank you so much. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you for being a friend of Supreme Education Foundation Schools. Thank you so much. Back to you, Mr. Billion.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you, everyone. It's great to have you here again at another training. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.